This is Vega, and you're watching Codec. This is Code Talker, and you're watching Codec. Silence. Silence or death. Since ancient times, every civilization ruler has had the same idea. When people unite under one will, they become stronger than the sum of their parts. And what do rulers use to bring people together? Language. Dine, Wablasia, copulate, alveoli, vocal cord parasites, microbiosis, nuclear power, hamburgers. A single dish providing a balance, helping of nature's blessings. Meat, grain, and vegetables. How could anyone hate such magnificent thing? Eyes on Kazuhura.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Codec Season 2, Episode 2, our first voice actor interview with Jay Tavare. How you doing today, sir?
How you guys doing? I'm good.
We're great.
We're fantastic, man. We're excited to finally get in here and talk to a voice actor, and it's only fitting we start off with a Metal Gear voice actor. We have you here today, but we're also joined by Yong Ya.
What's up, everybody? It's Yong here, and welcome to our interview with Jay Tavare. I've got to say, man, you're the healthiest looking man I've ever seen in my life. I just cannot tell. You look like you're in your 20s, honestly. I can't even tell how old you are, but you
44.
Wow, really?
Pretty good for a code talker. Result.
Man, I missed that intro, Yong. Good to have you back. I think we're actually going to have you start off our questions today, so go ahead and take it away, man.
Yeah, sure thing. So we like to ask this to all the actors who come on board. Just tell us a bit about yourself. Who is Jay Tavare? What do you do, and how did you get into acting?
Wow, that's a loaded question. Well, I like to think of myself as a storyteller, but my passion with entertainment started from really athletic arenas where I was an athlete and having an audience, just basically lifting you up to perform. I noticed there was like a little addiction there. So that led to theater, TV commercials, and eventually I took it seriously when I came to LA. That was probably about 30 years ago, 25 years ago. And I have to say, as much as it was persistence, it was also luck. I always tell that to young actors. You got to just be persistent. And eventually I landed the role of Vega in Street Fighter, which was my first film in 1994. And that was basically the start of my career. But I would say I was not taken seriously as an actor till I worked with Meryl Streep on Adaptation and Nick Cage. And that was the movie that literally propelled me as a thespian. And people says, well, let's have a look at this guy. And then from there I led to working with Ron Howard, Anthony Minghella, Cold Mountain, The Missing. I had a great run from 2002 to 2006, working with Steven Spielberg and Into the West and Pathfinder. And, it was some, I had a great run. And really, I got into voice acting almost by accident. I have I was always told I had a unique voice or a distinct tonal qualities. And I lived in Europe growing up for a period of my life. And, I am an American. But... no, because I got to clear that out. Otherwise, Donald might not let me back in the country. So, so anyway, but so that was basically like the kind of my short story of how it started. But obviously, along the way, there was a lot of striving and up, down, and like all the other stuff actors you hear go through. There's overnight, but 20 years at work.
Right.
Now, you do martial arts, which is apparent from just all the like Vega in Street Fighter, for example. And I saw your website, and there's a bunch of photos of you doing these amazing like martial arts poses. So, what kind of martial arts do you practice?
Well, right now I'm just practicing like MMA. I got into MMA in a big way because when I started Street Fighter, we had the opportunity of working with Benny the Jet. And he's a legend, Benny Urquidez. And before the MMA, the
Yeah,
full
yeah.
contact American boxing scene was really ruled by a couple of hand guys. There was like Don the Dragon Wilson, there was Benny the Jet, there was Urquidez. There's a few of these guys who literally had continued what Bruce Lee's philosophy was of combining different martial arts, and they were like kind of the pioneers of what was to come and what we see now. So I'm an avid I would say fan of the sport, because I see the art behind the savagery. Because a lot of people just see two guys swinging at each other, but really there's tremendous amount of skill needed to be able to survive a 5-minute round when someone is trying to knock your head off or just knock you out. So that aspect really appeals to me. It's just like you never know more about yourself than when you're mano a mano in a ring with no weapons and you have to fight for your life, because then you learn really who you are. And that aspect for me is really exciting. It's like that's why the movie Fight Club did so well or whatever. It's like, do you really know who you are till you get into a situation where you have to, it's that fight or flight syndrome. Are you going to run away from this, or are you going to just stand up to this? And how far you're willing to stand up. And so anyway, but as far as the training goes, yes, the training of, the martial art aspect of has always appealing because it's discipline. It's about, when you're actually sparring with someone, I feel like literally all your senses are at work. You have to be in the moment. You can never be thinking. It's like total spontaneous reaction with your opponent, and I love that aspect. It's almost like an acting class for me because I have to be present. So
my father is actually a martial artist, and so I've undergone some training under him, and I know exactly what you mean, and it's very cool.
Your generation, these kids now are absolutely, because I come from the generation where a lot of people say, well, I came from Muay Thai or I came from Wushu or whatever, but now we actually have kids who are starting off learning MMA, and the results are apparent because it's a whole different generation,
Yeah, so, very much so. Very much so. Very cool.
Yeah, and then the girls, I mean, come on, look at
Jay.
Unbelievable.
Oh man, you are hilarious. So I'd like to take the next question, and it might be a multi-part question. So tell us about how you landed the role in Metal Gear Solid 5. You've had a couple video games in your repertoire before. You've been in Gun, Call of Juarez, and a couple other ones, but your main roles have been in movies. You got a bunch of predominantly big movies up underneath your belt.
Yeah.
How did you get into this voice acting role with a game like Metal Gear?
Well, I don't know, but you guys probably have noticed, but more and more these games are like requiring cinematic performances.
Yeah.
So they really look for dramatic actors who are able to bring that cinema feel to the games, because they're not really games. I mean, these are Phantom Pain was literally 2.5 years of labor, and it was
more,
it was, and it was on and off work, but we had 4-hour sessions that we do at the time, because that literally was, I would be brain dead after one of those sessions. And it was very intense work. And Chris Zimmerman, who was our director, she was excellent, wonderful director, hands-on. I give her kudos. She made the actors, including myself, be relaxed and gave really clear directions. And all the Japanese crew that was there, it was actually fascinating, the whole process, because, well, we'll get into that later. But yeah, it was, it was basically, they called me up. They were looking for a specific type of voice. She felt I had that. And obviously, for this specific role, one of the major requirements was to speak Navajo, at least be familiar with the Diné language, because obviously it's one of the hardest languages in the world, Diné, which is part of the Athabascan language family, which is spoken by the Navajos and the Apaches of the Southwest. For that reason, they were used as codes during the World War.
That's right.
And they have glottal stops. It sounds like
Right.
not just Josh. They have silent L's, sound. It's like, honestly, if you listen, I can only imagine when the Japanese were listening to these Navajo code talkers, it sounded like a bunch of clicks. The guy going,
Wow.
and like, what the heck? It's like, that's what it sounded to them. And they had no clue.
Crazy.
And it was never a written language. And I think Master Kojima took that as like the base of his like Code Talker story, where if this, the whole phantom pain is based on these parasites and these vibrations and these sounds that they make, and how if you utter a certain words, then they activate it and they take over your body. I mean, it's unbelievable. As I was reading this, okay, I want to know what he's on.
We all do.
I mean, but it was wonderfully researched, and I actually had an opportunity of meeting Master Kojima, and he came into a couple of the sessions, and I had a picture with him. In fact, they said I was the first of the actors that he actually put a picture out because he was excited. He had kept it kind of hush hush, but we did it like a thing, and he Instagrammed it. So they said the cat was out of the bag. No one knew who was playing Code Talker before then. So he obviously liked what we were doing. But yeah, I give him kudos. I know he had some criticism regarding the storyline and how complex it was, but it's all in there. And there's quite a few hidden stuff. I don't know if all the players have discovered, but there's like the hamburger gag that we get to later on and stuff. But there's some fun stuff in there. Yeah.
Definitely. Yong, you have the next question.
Yeah, so we touched upon the process a bit. So tell us a bit about bringing Code Talker to life, because one of the first things that was revealed about the character is that they took a mold that they created and then they added your facial animation and your voice acting and integrated everything together. So how was that process like? It must have been somewhat complex, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, what made this... I had done mocap before, but, what made this really difficult was, in a way, it was like a mistake they made. They had used actors in Japan to do the mocap of the
body
storyline. So in other words, these guys had acted out the plot line in detailed ways, whether in the chopper, where they're doing things, and they had the full suit on. And the actor who had played my character particularly did not capture the rhythm of what I called like a Navajo elder. He'd done a good job, but I think it was like a German actor or whatever, which they actually later on said they should have brought all of that here and done it here. But so my challenge first and foremost was to match some of the stuff he had done in tempo and then lay out the English and the Navajo. So it was like a double whammy. So the day would actually start with me going through a process of about a half hour where I would, special mocap technician will put about 50 or so little dots all over my face, and I would go through a series of tests, ooh, ah, and that was in a room with multiple cameras, just like you've seen in Matrix, and those cameras would pick up all of those gestures, and once I would go through that basic alphabet so that the motion capture was set and everything was aligned, then we would start the recording process. Now, the challenge with this, again, was a lot of recordings, I'm able to look down at lines and say them. But because this was motion cap, I actually look into the camera and say the lines. And since I was not really fluent with Navajo, I can speak Dene, but I'm best when, I will discuss that later, that I actually used, when they came to me with a bunch of Navajo lines, I right away said, can I show this to my elders? And they said, sure. So they actually had some of the English translated poorly into Navajo. And so I took this to a friend of mine, Jennifer, who lives in Utah, and she's a Navajo lady, and she had, she's my contact. And she basically took this stuff to the elders. And then the first challenge was, the Navajo language is so unique. If I'm speaking to you during the afternoon, I might use different grammar than I would use in the evening or daytime. So if I'm speaking to a male, it would change than a female. So like the elders wanted to know when I'm saying, these bizarrely complex English sentences about amoebas and microbes or whatever, it's some of them. Who am I talking to? What is the meaning? I mean, so, and without trying to give them too much detail, so that was also part of the challenge. So they said as long as it was 80% right, they felt, but I try to go for 100%.
Sure.
Because I had the responsibility to the indigenous people and their language who, to try to get it as correct as we could. I mean, just like the word for white man is blagana. You hear that in the game, which was literally what the Navajos called the white man because it meant the white eye. because to the Navajo they could see the white of the eye of the, so they called them the white eye, Black Ana, so, but all of that mattered to me to try to get it accurate. And so the challenge was to be able to look at the screen. And I even cheated, and I had some of my dialogue put it on transfer paper and stuck it straight on the camera to see right through it sometimes, and just read and try to have because even the motion of my eyeball was detected.
Oh,
so
wow.
if I was reading, the camera would pick that up. So I was able to just glance. I mean, I'd memorized it enough to be able to just glance at the next dialogue and be able to say, whatever. It's. That was for me the biggest challenge.
Did you ever see the mold? Did you ever interact with it in some way?
I never saw the mold in person because they make that, I guess, again in Japan. But I can tell you, every session we had a Skype link with Japan.
Okay.
So we were LA, and there was a director in Japan who was, I think Master Kojima probably. They had me on a huge screen there, so whatever I was doing was viewed by a whole army of people. And I sort of forget about that because I was just in the booth doing my thing. Yeah. But if I did anything slightly off or different they wanted, they would, the direction would come from Japan to LA, then Chris would relay it to me. So the process was kind of, it's very interesting, the way the technology was used in this game. I was fascinated by the whole process.
Yeah, the results were freaking amazing. And it shows just how well the technology was used. Now, was it hard to drop your voice to such a range? Because your natural voice doesn't, it's definitely like a little higher. It's definitely a higher pitch. So how was that like for you? Did it strain you in many ways?
Yeah. No, I mean, I have every actor has as a voiceover actor, I call it, I have a chest voice and I have a throat voice.
Yeah.
And if the mic is right here, I'm going to drop my voice, but naturally. It's just a chest voice. I'm not trying to make it deeper. That's just my natural voice is here. But when I'm trying to project, it goes up. But for this, we had to literally design a voice. And again, I have to thank Chris because the first day was me keep playing around till they liked what I was doing. And I came in with, having spent time with elders, I had a few people in mind when I thought of it. I have one medicine man friend. His name is Rick. And he's a full-blooded Pakani Indian shaman, medicine man, and he's 6'8".
Oh wow!
And he's got this unbelievably authentic face. It actually looks like that statue, that little thing. He looks like that, and so I had him in mind specifically when I thought about Code Talker, and he has this cadences like I brought it down here and. He was, so the pace of 100-year-old man who sometimes does have, he in some ways he has some supernatural abilities, so he wasn't quite as slow always, and sometimes he was a little more menacing, and sometimes the parasites had control of him, so he would be slightly different. So there was different shades of Code Talker, but the challenge was every time I came back to the studio to remember what I had done. So I had to play some of the stuff and remember where that scene started. So I try to take my voice back there, and without sounding like Batman. So,
oh man, you did a great job, Jay. I think one of the coolest parts of the game was when you first meet Code Talker. It's inside of his house, and I half expected, because of your voice delivery, for him to be a bad guy, like boss fight in the beginning. Like when you first walk in that room, the first couple lines, I'm like, it's really ominous. You're not really sure what's going to happen, and it turns out that he just wants to smoke the peace pipe with you and talk. So that was a relief. But I love the delivery.
I think that was part of the plan. He's like the mystery in the game in some ways, and he's not all good. As the thing reveals, he's responsible for some of the atrocities that have happened. So, and that's part of his thing. He has this guilt towards what he's done, as well as his people. So there was that native on the line for me as well, in that this is an indigenous man who, beside what happened to his people, he also feels he gave the information to Skullhead and worked with him, and he got double crossed because he was trying to save his people when it really didn't turn out. So there was there's a lot of that as well in there. And like I said, the complexity of these characters, honestly, it was no different than doing a movie.
Yeah. I can definitely see that.
Very cool. Well, my next question for you is when you doing a game like Metal Gear, obviously, like I said before, you've been in a couple other games, you've been in some pretty big movies. How well have you been received from the fans? We talked a little bit about it yesterday. You mentioned that it seemed like the Metal Gear fans were very diehard. They took a quote that you said and ran with it, and you had all. How has your interaction been with Metal Gear fans as opposed to maybe fans around from your films or from other games that you've done?
I had a really good reception. I had, mostly it's been great. I've had a lot of fan letters. I've had people saying, I love this. And obviously that there's a couple of funny moments. Yeah. The guy, including the hamburger scene, I think is the most popular with a lot of fans.
Right now.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a funny story to tell you about that day. But because, the whole day I'm talking about freaking hamburgers. And I was so starving in the booth. I had to send someone right down the street. There was an In-N-Out burger. I said, go get me a burger because I'm not going to fake this. I want a burger now. So they went and got me a real In-N-Out, double animal style.
Nice.
So it was tough to be doing that hamburger scene. It's really starving. But anyway, it was just fun. I really enjoyed. I mean, like I said, I wish I could continue doing this character just like a series because it was that much fun and it was really a good fun work with a really talented group of people. So I thoroughly enjoyed working on this and I hope the fans enjoyed it too because we all worked really hard to try to make this game at the level it came out. I mean, the CGI, the graphics, as well as the storyline. So it was groundbreaking in many ways. So I'm proud of it.
Awesome. Well, I think most of the fans did love the performance, and I think the hamburger scene is one of the funniest in the game. Young, you have our next question.
Yeah, so we touched a bit upon the Navajo language, the Diné, I suppose. How experienced... was it? Okay, good. How experienced were you with the language before Metal Gear, and how much practice did you have to do prior to recording?
I worked out hard on that. I mean, first of all, in 2003, I worked with Ron Howard on a wonderful Western with Cate Blanchett and Tommy Lee Jones and Val Kilmer called The Missing. Mm-hmm. And it was like a sleeper Western because it came out at the same time as Cold Mountain that was also in, and Last Samurai, so it was lost in the shuffle. But on cable, it's become one of the most popular Westerns out actually right now. But on that, we met with the great-granddaughter of Cochise. Her name was Elvis Hugar, and she was basically another great elder from the Apache Nation called Beryl Cancia. And the two of them, plus an academic by the name of Scott Rushforth, were in charge of teaching the main caste the Athabascan language, specifically the Chiricahua dialect, because they're all slightly different dialects. Like, although Navajo or the Diné is the same Athabascan as what the Apache speak, it is a slightly different dialect. Then Navajo speak it more rhythmically, whereas the Apaches are more flat, especially the Chiricahuas. But the words could be similar. Like, we say gujudash in Apache, which means let all good things happen. But in Navajo also you have the word guju, which means good. Tunjuri, it's like, so they have similarities, almost like, I guess, like Portuguese and Spanish. That type of, the base is the same. So Ron Howard had us study for months before the movie. So that was the basis of my language, and I continued my education after that. That's when I really kind of went back to the reservation, started doing more work with the children on the reservation, with the suicide prevention, because we have a huge issue on most of the reservation in America where the indigenous children are committing suicide, and it's kind of kept hush-hush. Wow. So I started being part of Honor Your Life program, going to the reservation, working with the elders, and it was a way of me giving back as I portray these people on film here in Hollywood. I had this opportunity. I felt like I needed to go back, so I got more involved, and I started writing for Huffington Post, and I wrote all my work that I did and highlighted it on there and blogs. which I still do. And it was a way of just bringing highlights to what's going on in indigenous America. Most people are unaware of that. And I thought I wanted the Master Kojima to know this too, because the Navajo's plight has been a difficult one. And even now, with all the uranium mining and stuff that has gone on in Southwest and the water issues on the reservation, they're suffering. And some of that was in the storyline, which I thought was really cool, that he had used real life stuff to highlight what's going on with the indigenous people. And I love where Leo DiCaprio recently in the Golden Globes mentioned that, the sacred ways of the indigenous people must be preserved. We need that more than ever now. So that was like something that was always at the back of my mind, And so the language, I had to probably work several weeks before each session. I was always given an update, like they say, next week we're going to need you this day, that. So I would spend the week leading up, literally daily, working on the lines that I had to say in Diné, because people would see me walking around with my headphones on. Is all about repetition, because our mouth is not used to the kind of sounds they make, and literally to master any sound, you need to repeat it 600 times for you to just get that motion of what's happening inside the mouth with
like muscle memory.
Yeah, it really is. So that was the biggest challenge. And then I would actually even call back the elders and try to say it on the phone, and so difficult because on the phone for them to hear my enunciation. And it was a difficult process. Some days I was nervous going in because it was like, and other days it was like, they would give me like a pile of dialogue. And I made a few mistakes actually, because at the time the dialogue was in English and I spent a ridiculous amount of time translating it into Navajo only to find out that they didn't need to be. I arrived on set all sweaty and tired from getting all this done. And Chris says, we just need that in English. You have to just say this line in Navajo. I'm like, well, somebody tell Code Talker. Like I know.
Right. It sounds like that was a crazy process. Did you have to review any like previous Metal Gear work before going into this game, or did you want to go in there fresh, like straight on into this?
I try to do a little bit of background check, but this character was the first time, so there was really no blueprint of what I was going to do. So I try to base this on my own experiences and try to make the Code Talker, just fascinating the way they wanted it to be, And I realized most of my work was opposite Kiefer Sutherland, who did an amazing job too. And so I knew that I had to bring it because he did a great Snake, I thought. So he's got a very distinct voice that, So it was fun.
So
now, who was there anybody there to for example, if you made a mistake in Navajo, was there somebody there to say we need to tweak this or tweak that, or did you practice enough that you would just nail it at every session?
No, I would go in. I was in many ways the Navajo advisor on this project.
Okay,
there you go.
I brought in all the Navajo dialogue they gave me. I went back and I had them rewritten. So they thanked me tremendously on that, but in some ways they should have given me a little credit on that, because we literally, everything towards the end they wouldn't even have the Navajo translation. They just give me the English line and say, can you get this in Navajo? So it was, I was in charge of that. Okay. But if I got stuck, I even would take in a tape recording with me that I would have on the set. In fact, I know I had to work with one of the actresses on one or two of the sessions where she had to speak Navajo.
Stephanie Houston, yeah,
exactly, Stephanie.
She was part of your question there, Young.
Okay, well, you can ask the question.
I was just going to ask, she told us that you helped her out with the Diné line, so how was that process like, and how did she do?
Well, she was very brave, because, honestly, she had never, I had asked if I could have a day with her before her shoot, and they couldn't organize, because she had flown in or whatever, and it was not easy, but I asked to have, at least while she was getting her makeup done and going through the motion capture process, for me to start explaining to her what she needed to be familiar with, which, like, I try to make her realize the certain sounds, like what is a silent L, and try to go through some of the sounds. And I even brought back the playback said by a female Navajo in her ear, so she could get a sense of how a female, because again, like I said, the male speaks slightly different. So I went, once they asked me to actually do that as a process, and I was getting paid for it, I took it very seriously because I wanted to be there for her, and I was actually in the booth with her, and I would, I would feed lines in between her takes. Literally say Blagana, no Blagana, and she was very good. She would listen, and I had it phonetically written down for her. I had everything you could imagine. We had her ear phonetically, and I was there present, just for her to get it as close as she can. Again, it was someone who the parasites have taken over. Technically, she's supposed to speak fluent Navajo, so and that's not easy if you've never spoken the language to just suddenly show up and start speaking Navajo. I mean, she did a phenomenal job. So I would say, my hats off to her, and very brave. And the key in a stress situation is to stay relaxed, and she was. So
very cool. No, it sounded good. I mean, I wouldn't know because I don't speak Navajo, but from my end, it sounded pretty good. So
I'm sure it helps that she speaks a couple different languages already as well.
Exactly. Yeah, it did. The fact that, because I think, isn't she Dutch? Dutch?
Yeah, Dutch.
The Dutch have that sound in their language, which the Navajos use as well. So that came handy. The Dutch have "godverdomme" and stuff like that.
Now, how many languages do you speak?
I probably.
I don't know, just 10.
No. I speak about 3, I would say, fluently, and then I also know, some, bits and bobs of other languages that, as an actor, I can really fake it well. Like, I've faked Middle Eastern languages for some of my films. I've faked many indigenous languages. Like, I know enough to be able to sound like, if I have to sound French or German or whatever, if you give it to us, I've done several movies that keep giving me Spanish dialect, and I'm not really fluent in Spanish the way people think, but I've had, last year I had a young USC director wanted me for his thesis film, and he kind of lied to me. He goes, but the movie's in Spanish, and I thought, well, it's a short, so it can't be too bad, and he came up with 17 pages of Spanish for me. I was like, unbelievable. So anyway, we survived.
Right.
That's good.
Made it to the Tribeca Film Festival and actually got picked as one of the best shorts of the year. So
oh wow, that's great.
It's called Off Track. Off Track. I was proud of that one too.
Very cool.
Well, you've been busy, huh?
Last year was my first year that I ended up being in 2 horror movies, 2 franchise horror movies actually. One was the Bone Tomahawk with that actually received really good reviews with Kurt Russell and Patrick Wilson and Richard Jenkins, and like a whole array of amazing stars. It was a sleeper little Western horror, just crazy. And I don't know if I should be proud of this. I was part of the Human Centipede 3.
I remember. I saw that.
That one was a bizarre movie to shoot. And the whole process of making it, we shot it in the most grotesque prisons for real. And that was just one of those things that it was like a hit and miss. I mean, it was one of those franchises. My agent said, look, this is one of the most talked about franchise horror movies in the world. So it's either a hit or a miss because it's bizarre. So I decided to take the risk and work on it. I mean, we had a couple of good actors on it, like Eric Roberts and Sonny Lister and Robert Lozado. So
very cool.
But Phantom Pain was one of the highlights for me of last year, the release, because after 2.5 years, that was fun. And I actually ended up end of last year working just a couple of days in the reshoots for Revenant, which I'm also proud of. I did some voiceover work. They had some of the battle scenes recreated, and I spoke some Iroquois language for them. And we got paid handsomely. But I'm proud to say I'm part of that production now, too.
Wow, so I had no idea you were in The Revenant. I want to go watch that movie.
Well, actually, we did, as I said, it was a recreation of some of the battle things.
Oh, okay.
But I did not make I wanted to make the original cast.
Okay.
But I have a few friends who were on there. There was Ron Rondu, who I worked with on The Missing, who was on there, amazing stunt actor, and also Nathaniel Arkand, who I worked with on Pathfinder. He's a great native actor from Canada. He was one of the stars of, I think, that show.
Okay.
So
very cool.
Was that the end of your question there, Yo?
Yeah.
I know that was a multi-part one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. My next question for you, Jay, is when you were doing Code Talker, obviously you had to know a little bit about him. How much backstory did they tell you about this character and his involvement within the game? And was it different than maybe some of the other games that you have been in before? Was it more in depth, more involved, or was it about the same as maybe something like Gun or Red Dead?
Red Dead Redemption. No, most of these games are really top secret while they're being made, so they don't reveal to us more than you need to know. Especially with Phantom Pain, was even more so. This thing was like, I think it was harder to get into the storyline, find the storyline of this, than to get to some of the secrets of NSA.
I don't doubt it.
Let's find out how these guys keep this shit secret, because, but seriously, so when I first started, they literally told me, they go, we're going to reveal this as we go, so don't worry, and she told me, Chris says, we're going to be at this for a while, and I didn't realize she meant 2.5 years of it, but it was a while. I thought, she goes, this is going to be an ongoing work, so we're going to call you. So, and I thought that was kind of interesting to be working on a project that you revisit every year, right, and you work so many times, and you come back, and each year, obviously, I in my mind, I was putting the pieces of the together, and then some of my friends who are gamers were trying to pick my brain, but we had that we all have to sign an NDA, and on something like this is very serious. Like if I was to release any information, it would be disastrous. And as you were mentioning it, I made a mistake once of answering one fan when they said, when is this being released? And I said, I don't know, probably next year, without even thinking of it. And that little comment went viral.
Yep.
And the next day, I just turned on my computer to see, like, I was being blasted by the gaming community, being discussed. When Jay Tavare revealed the game will be out next year. Somebody who obviously knew what they were going. No, it's not. There's another game before Phantom Pain. That has to be first come out, then the Phantom Pain, because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And then it was unbelievable. Yeah. So I had to make a public statement saying, with all due respect, I have no clue what I was saying when I said that. I was just thinking maybe is next year.
Metal Gear fans for you.
Yeah, right.
It's not March next year.
Yeah, I'm sure they were referring to Ground Zeroes, which is
exactly.
So long. Okay, that makes sense. So that was that means you were involved quite a while before the actual release of the game, which is what we've been hearing for some of the other voice actors that have the characters in the game, is that you guys have been at this for a long time. So we're happy that the game's finally out. I think probably about 90% of the community has beaten it and has experienced most of the things that the game has to offer. And from Yong's perspective and my perspective, for the show we gave it a Game of the Year award.
Wow.
For our show here. So I think the cast and crew across the board all did a great job. Yong, you have the next question, buddy.
Yeah. So going back to Code Talker, what are some things you had to keep in mind to become Code Talker? One thing is doing the voice, and another thing is sort of zoning in on who this character is and what have you. So what are some things you had to keep in mind to become this character?
Well, always, this again, where Chris was so wonderful, was she would set up each scene. She goes, in this scene, you've lost all your people, or you're in prison now. They've been, you hate Skullface, and she would set up the emotional content of the moment, and which was for an actor wonderful. She would just give me that whole base of where I had to be, and then literally I could start the day by as if I'm saying the line now, saying "Good morning, guys," and she'd go, "No, I need it darker than that," So I would go, "Good morning, guys," So it was like literally the process was that precise, and that because this what you witnessed, we did word by word, not even line by line, word by word. Wow. Sometimes several words at a time. And as you had asked me, there was a lot of complex words. English too, words that I'm not really would use on a daily, archaean and all kinds of. And in fact, I had all the medical terms, medical terms that were like God, those were like the ones that were really challenging, especially in long sentences where he would go on, and sometimes I say, "My God, Code Talker can talk."
Yeah, he can.
He was just going on about how the microcondom morphed into
Slovakia.
Slovakia, able some of the countries, and I had to like remember some of the African nation.
Yeah.
The Zulu sounds and stuff. Say this one like hula babu. So it was like like I said, I love a good challenge, and this was challenging.
Yeah,
this
I
was
bet.
challenging. Like after this, I've gone now for other big games because of this. I'm now getting auditioning for like major parts. In fact, I just read for a Spielberg. It's either animation series or whatever.
Wow.
So they're now considering me for more starring roles because of my performance in this. So it was definitely good.
Wow.
Young, just so you're aware, I'm going to skip this next question here because it's already been answered.
Okay.
I'm going to go down to the one below that. So I want to switch gears real quick, Jay. Get off of Metal Gear for just a second. Can you tell us the highlight story about how you landed your role as Vega in Street Fighter, and had you played any Street Fighter games up and around that era to kind of prepare to be in a Street Fighter movie?
Not really.
Oh man.
When I was
He is back. Vega returns.
Yeah, not really. I mean, I just have
I was looking for Ryu. Now, if any of you two is Ryu, you're in deep trouble.
Oh my God.
Where is that loss? Yeah.
I love that. That is amazing. That is the first prop ever used by a voice actor.
That's going in the intro. That is going in the intro.
This, believe it or not, is one of the actual masks from the movie.
From the movie, that's what I thought too.
Yeah, this is the real deal. And recently, I did an episode of Superpower Beatdown. Is this very popular series where they pair off two superheroes and see who wins, and they ask the fans, and they have alternative endings, and it's viewed by like 10 million people. Some of these it's like a little short this young director does, and they asked me to play Vega in a Ryu and Green Ranger episode. Anyway, but Vega really was my first big Hollywood feature, and it will always be a special one for me. I was up against Antonio Banderas, Antonio Sabato Jr., and Isai Morales.
Wow.
Really? But it was 1993, and none of them were really stars either. Only Isai Morales was probably the most famous. Banderas had just done Mambo Kings, and Sabato Jr. was not even a Calvin model yet. So the fact that I beat them out to that role I was proud of that. And but I was in shape. I was ready, and I know they wanted a guy who was, the description was Vega, Latino with matinee idol looks and brutally muscled. That was like, okay, well, I think I got one of those covered. But no, it was an amazing experience. We worked again with Benny the Jet months before the shooting, and we flew to Thailand, spent at least a month in Thailand, then flew to Australia, spent 3 months in Australia Gold Coast, then we flew to Vancouver. I mean, it was like we literally shot that around the world, 6 months of work. So I came off my first film going, wow, I hope this is the life that I'm going to get used to, not knowing the next day you're jobless.
We hear the struggles of actors.
Oh man, I remember watching that movie when I was a kid, and I remember loving it. I mean, it's so cheesy, but it's such a cult classic. Like, I don't know how to describe it.
That's it. Our director, Steven D'Souza, he's almost like a comic writer. He wrote Die Hard. He wrote Running Man. He wrote Commando. This guy is was one of those prolific action writers of the 1980s and 1990s. But so when he was asked to write Street Fighter, he wanted to direct. I don't know why he wanted to direct, but he wanted to direct. So they said, okay, you can write and direct it. And he went for that PG-13 take, which I think could have been, one of the flaws, I guess, in some ways, because Mortal Kombat went for a harder take on it, and they did better at the box office. But like you said, ironically, 20-odd years later now, the movie has a cult following, and it's so camp that it's good now. It's just goes to show, it's so camp that it's good now. It's like become one of those that you watch it and it's got. I mean, we had Raul Julia, man. I mean, Christ, it's.
I know.
Working with him was the highlight for me. That guy was a legend, you know. Kylie Minogue. I mean, we had Kylie Minogue. We had. I mean, there was some bizarre. We had Shakespearean actors playing Seth, the guy who played the Indian. He's a Shakespearean Oscar-nominated actor. He was playing these. I mean, so it was just bizarre cast of people. We had Wes Studi, who was Magua in Last of the Mohicans. He played my boss, Sagat, you know. So I had that would always be like, you know, you always say it's like your first. It was first big Hollywood trimming on a martial art movie of that, you know, it was like 50, I think they spent like 55 million on it, which was huge amount of money for that period.
Yeah.
So, it's, as you can see, to this day, honestly, people remember me. I get asked to go and bring my mask and do Vega appearances, and you know, I try to keep the fans happy.
Can you still do his moves?
Yeah, what I pride myself on is that, you know, although I've been in the business for a while, honestly, I haven't lost my edge. I can pretty much do almost everything I used to do 20 years ago still.
Wow.
And I think that's my philosophy is maintenance. You want to, I mean, look at these guys. Look at Tom Cruise, man. He's hanging outside the side of a plane for a 50-year-old, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different era. It really is a different era. And it's about that focus and that, you know, the wanting to do it. I understand why Tom does it. I'm known as an actor who does all my own stunts too. And that's why I do it, because part of the fun is to play these characters, to get to, they ride horses or they jump out of windows, you know?
Yeah.
I like that part. I don't want to say my lines and
That's
sit
great.
when the stunt guy does the fun parts. I want to do the fun parts.
Sure
That's
thing.
great. I love that. I love that attitude. I think that's what kind of separates you from some of the other, you know, actors and voice actors and stuff. Is you know, I'm pretty much aware that you did most of your stunts and
Very hands-on.
Exactly, and I think that level of commitment, you know, shows in your movies, shows in your voice acting. You really get in, you know, for all intents and purposes. You didn't have to, you know, familiarize yourself with Code Talker. You could have just done the role and, you know, throw it in the closet. But, you know, you're here now talking to the fans about it. We love those kind of voice actors and actors. So thank you very much for that, man. We really appreciate it.
Lots of kudos.
We're getting towards the end here. So, Young, you've got the next couple questions here. I'm going to let you take it away. You can ask your remaining ones, and then we'll hop into the community questions.
Sure. I'm going to skip this one right here, and I'm going to go with the next one. Throughout your work in MGS5, were there moments where, and we kind of touched upon this, but were you confused by Code Talker's script? I mean, some of the words that he uses, Wolbachia, copulate, metallic archaea, and yada, yada, yada. I mean, how did you make sense of all of it?
Well, I thought the Navajo was difficult till Chris gave me the English stuff. I mean, it's like, wait a sec. I thought the name was difficult. Archaea who? It was like,
Did you have to do research?
It's 9 a.m. My coffee hasn't even kicked in. Archaea who? It's like, oh, yeah. I mean, come on, confused. I would sometimes show up. I had the English in Navajo. I had the Navajo in English. I mean, it was because they basically would just email me a bunch of sites, you know, and my agent didn't know what was going on because it was over this things. So whoever was in charge of sending me the thing, I had to communicate with them more. Say, look, can you highlight what you need me for tomorrow? Because you send me 70 pages or 100 pages. What are we doing tomorrow? Because I'm not going to go through all of this. And so it was kind of a, you know, definitely the confusion was there. And I tried to just, like I said, the key was to really listen. Because when I got in there, they had a Japanese producer who only spoke Japanese through a translator. Then you had Chris. Then you had the satellite link up to Japan. And so all of that was going on while I'm still in the booth. So sometimes I had to wait 5 minutes or more before the decision was made how that particular line was said, you know. So it's really, but they knew what they wanted. And I have to give credit to this team that worked on this game. They knew exactly what they wanted. The planning was done. And of course, there was an organic element to it. So some of the creativity, like we did have fun, and I brought some comic stuff to the character, doing the hamburgers and other stuff. But it was, Chris loved some of the sounds that this guy made, like the grunts and the, he's like, it's like this kind of a sarcastic old man sometimes. It's like, to Snake,
grouchy.
He's like, so there was that element in there too.
Awesome. So for my next question, let's talk about those hamburger tapes.
What
was your thought process like when you first read the script? Were you like, is this the same game? Because we have all this serious stuff happening, and then we start talking about hamburgers. So what was your reaction?
That stuff. I said, it just looked, on paper, it looked really corny. And I think, really? You're going to do this? For real? She goes, don't worry about it. The way it's played, you're under the influence, and blah, 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 blah. Don't, just we got to stay with the intentions here. You want to get fed. And then, but as I was reading, I kind of agreed with Code Talker. Hamburger is such a simple meal, but it's a complete dietary nutrition. You got the protein, you got the vegetables, you got your bun is the carbohydrates, all in one little package that fits perfectly in your mouth. I mean, come on.
Greatest invention.
It's so funny.
Those lines killed me.
We invented hamburger, but if you think about it, come on, indigenous people took their bread, grabbed a piece of meat, rolled it, and probably put it in their mouth long before we invented hamburger.
Very true.
But we take that for credit too as well. So anyway, but the hamburger scene was just like I said, it was a classic. I mean, it was great writing, and every other time they would ask me to do crazy stuff in there too. Like I think they had me sing "Happy Birthday" in Navajo. I don't know if it was that or say something like some surprises in the game that if it's New Year's or if it's something else, your birthday.
Yeah, it's your birthday.
If it's the player's birthday, I think Code Talker says happy birthday or something in Navajo or something crazy like that. On the day of your birthday, he pops up and suddenly knows because you have to register, don't you?
The thing is sometimes your birthday or this event that you're talking about can happen before you recruit Code Talker, and mine actually, the way I set mine is it happened before I even encountered Code Talker, so I haven't actually heard that. I would like to now go back and reset my birthday so I can try that.
I think so. I think there was some fun stuff to put in there, but it was that day we laughed a lot. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I could see sometimes when I was doing the sounds like eating the burger.
Oh, that was all you.
I was doing all the sounds. The people in the booth were just cracking up because they would go, okay, don't enjoy it that much, just less. And I was saying, just go get me a goddamn burger now.
Did they?
No.
Did you get to be to hear the lines from Robin Atkins Downs before you did them or after? Have you heard the complete tapes together?
Did you work with him?
Yeah, no, I mean, there was, Chris was very good. If I was actually communicating with Snake, they would play back his dialogue,
Okay.
We never really had a double session together, but I was in studio sometimes right after him or right before him. I actually saw Keith a few times going and coming, but it was where it was the kind of game you had to focus on one person because it had to be motion captured. I would have loved to actually be in the room with Snake going back and forth, but that just didn't happen like that.
Okay.
Usually for most games, it doesn't. I mean, I've done animation that they use that technique sometimes.
Yeah.
But most of the time, and even then, you're in two separate booths. You're never really in the same because they have to isolate the sound.
Yeah.
But I've done one game that I lined up. It was the movie Koba, the dinosaur hunting native. It was the Son of Stone. No, not Koba. Sorry, Torox, the Son of Stone.
Torox. Oh, Torok.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was in that animation, Torok, the Son of Stone. Adam Beach started as the main guy, and I played Koba in there. And I remember we had a group of us in the room to doing sound at the same time, and it was interesting. I've never worked like that before. So,
okay, so mostly it was a solo venture. I know you said you worked a bit with Stephanie Houston to help her with her Dine, but I guess other than that, it was mostly just solo?
It was.
Okay.
It was solo with a whole team of people looking at me.
I see. Now,
It was a busy room back there.
I can imagine. Now, how familiar were you with Metal Gear prior to you landing this role?
Not as much as I should have been. I mean, I realized the game had been going on for a long time, and that these characters were, fan favorites, and they had gone through many evolutions. And so, it's just like Street Fighter. When I landed Street Fighter, I went and did the research in the arcades and watched the kids play the game and realized the special moves. And I mean, like you said, that's part of what I enjoy, doing my backstory and research. And but again, like I said, for me, I try to focus more about the character than the overall game, because I realized I was a new character and I was just going to focus on what I'm going to bring to this game rather than who these people are.
Sure.
Because I didn't want to know too much about Snake. I wanted to discover him through what's happening,
Right.
And I felt like if I went and did the backstory and stuff, it might have given me too many clues and stuff. But, so I kind of stayed with the storyline as we were giving it. So the surprises were still there. But afterwards, I did.
Okay.
Because afterwards, once I realized the scale of this game and how, when they first started to play us the first footage in the studio, I was just blown away. I mean, the way his scarf would be blowing in the wind, the wrinkles, and how it's a real-time, real world. You can drop down to almost anywhere in the world, and you look like Google Map. It was so accurate, So it was just that aspect was mind-boggling. That you could literally, like, if you wanted to go from here over there, you have a variety of ways you could do it.
Yeah.
You could ride your horse, you could crawl on the floor, you could drive your car, you could shoot him and then go there, That thought about every aspect of the movement, and that to me, it's just mind-boggling the amount of work. That's why I respect for you guys as well, because most people who don't know gaming, they don't realize the vastness of it. I came to realize that if you add all the box office in the world to all the DVD sales in the world, it still is pale compared to the sales of the games. It's a $50 billion industry.
Yeah,
50.
it's huge. It's huge.
It's like, you can't compete with that. That's how monstrous the gaming world is.
Mm-hmm.
There was some stats that were released recently where Metal Gear actually beat out some of the Avenger movies in box office sales, and it's still selling. Still selling today. They just released a new component for the game where people can play online for the PC, and so even more people are coming in now and getting to experience it. Young, before you go to your next question, I wanted to show Jay something. We have a fan of our show here. Like I said, we've started the show last year, and you're our first interview of this year. But one of our fans is an artist. His name is Emilio Lopez, and he actually sent us, all the hosts of our show, a copy of his art book. And I wanted to show you his art drawing of Code Talker there. So this is Emilio Lopez did a little fan drawing of that. It's in he's got this nice little art book here showcasing a lot of the art in the Metal Gear, and I thought it would be cool for you to see your character there kind of portrayed by a fan.
That was very well done. That was very well done. Yeah.
Yeah, we love it. We're going to talk a little bit about it after the show for anybody who might be interested in learning a little more about that book. But Young, you go ahead and continue with your questions, man.
Yeah. Now, after you played Code Talker, did you maybe play any of the games? Have you played Phantom Pain? Are you a gamer?
I'm sad to say I never got into gaming. I mean, I could see myself getting it. I keep telling myself I'm waiting for the next stage where it's virtual reality. Goggles on, I'm in the game.
That's coming. That's coming.
I'm afraid because having made these games, I see how enticing they are, how engaging they are. And I know how I am. I feel like if I get into these things, then I will not leave the house. I will stay home. I'll be like trying to find all the mysteries and discoveries. Right. In real life, I'm opposite. I'm like, I like to do this stuff, but if you ask Jay Tavare what he likes to do, I like to put on my hiking running shoes, take my little pooch, and go run in the mountains. I get off on that, playing my music in my ear, running in the wilderness. It's the ultimate moving meditation for me.
It's awesome.
Then I'll sit at the top of there and play Phantom Pain on my little phone. No.
Yeah.
I got
Well,
you.
honestly, I'm waiting for the next, the next crazy things you gamers are doing. I'm going to definitely start playing this stuff. I can see myself, I'll be an old man like Talker playing them.
Yeah,
Well, the
sure.
good thing is we live in that era where even if you don't play, you can still watch, your performances and research things and see other people play.
Yeah, YouTube is
There's little movies. There's actually little movies on YouTube where
Yep.
you can watch all the backstory of Snake. If someone has edited and put it together, it's like it's a film.
That's kind of what Young does. He's an analyst he analyzes games, breakdowns the trailer. Young, I mean, how long were you analyzing Metal Gear trailers for? 4
probably
years?
3 years.
Oh my
Yeah.
God!
Yeah, I made a lot of theories about your character.
He's
for
got
sure.
theories about you. He's got
Must be fun finally meeting me.
Yeah, exactly.
Screen to screen.
Some of the stuff I was right about, some of the stuff I was wrong about, but very compelling character overall.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Is that? Are we at the end here, Young?
Oh, let's see. Oh, I have one final question, and that is, what are your future plans? What does the future hold for you? Are you doing any voice acting in the future? Any video games you might be involved in? Anything you can tell us about?
well, honestly, to me, I'm getting more involved now as a voiceover actor than before. I mean, I'm actually, I would say my work now is almost 50-50. I'm doing as much voiceover auditions and acting now that I go out for actual theatrical and television work. But definitely, I mean, I love this process, and I think I can really contribute. I love, I've got a lot of other voices in me that haven't come out.
Right.
Look forward to seeing those. Yeah.
But I just love that, again, this was so different than who I am, and I love that aspect. He's a 100-year-old man, and it was challenging. It was fun. It was exciting, and yeah, I mean, honestly, to me, it's no difference than especially if you get to do the motion capture, you are having fun.
Yeah.
That's a fun process. The sound stages they do, this is fantastic. It's like massive warehouses, all padded out like some nut house, and a lot of times you actually recreate it in there so they could use the blue screen or the green screen they do. But definitely, I'm planning on that and just continue as actors. The pilot season is coming up. I'm not supposed to say it, but I'm up for one of these superhero movies as a sidekick to one of the heroes. All I say is a female hero, so we'll see if that happens or not.
Ooh.
All right.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, once you have more projects that you're involved in revealed to the public, maybe you can have you back and talk about those.
Definitely, I would love that. I would
Awesome.
love that.
So we're gonna get into the community questions now. Jay, these are short, 1-2 sentence, answer from you, so we can move through them quickly. There's a few of them. Young's gonna ask them, so go ahead, Young, and take it
Yeah,
away. buddy.
sure. I got one community question from Mike Shipley from YouTube. He asks just what was it like working with Kojima?
Well, like I said, I only met him a couple of times. He was
Okay.
fascinating character and a complex man. I was just trying to work out how did all this stuff come out of this man's mind.
Right.
It's just a fascinating. And he's not that old. He's in his early 50s. He's a young guy who looked very trendy and young. I mean,
Yeah.
I was surprised to see that's the guy they call Master Kojima. he didn't look like Ip Man. He looked like he looked like a young guy. So,
And I have another question from Based on Parody from YouTube. He asks about one of the lines that you say. I don't know if you remember this one. You say "eyes on Kazuhira." You say at
Yeah.
one point. Now, what's interesting is that he talks about there's secret meetings between the containers. Eyes on Kazuhira, and we don't really get to see what that culminates to. We don't really find out what's between the containers. So, do you know anything about that you can tell us about?
I'm trying to remember now, and nothing really comes to mind. I thought Eyes on Kazuhira literally they were somehow snooping or had way of watching what was going on. That's what I thought it made sense, but I really don't know. I mean, like I said to you, when I would show up, there was a bunch of dialogue that was given to me, and then on the day of, I would make more sense of it when Chris would say, okay, in this scene, this is what's going on. But I think that information must have been, somehow shared. I don't remember right now. I
Sure.
do remember the line, but I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember what Eyes on Kazuhiro, what was the context of the scene. I have to look at my notes, honestly.
Sure,
It's like
sure.
2.5 years.
Yeah, it's such a peculiar line because I spent like a whole hour just trying to catch Kaz in the
I
act or
think
something.
there was a lot that had changed.
Okay.
They literally were creating stuff like, as I said, for my character, the final year, they wrote even more stuff for me to do. So just when I thought I was done,
Right.
they decided that the old man was going to reveal kind of like the backstory through a series of process when I did this long stuff in English. But they were like I said, he was creating as he was going,
Like an
And
evolving
that's-
process.
That's
Okay.
why it was a little complex because the plot line was there, but we went back and even changed stuff because of that. Because he was changing plot lines and stuff was still evolving, and that's why when you say top secret, this stuff was like literally given to us. Even each page had my name on it. That if it was photocopied or given to someone, that would show in a blueprint. Like it was very, very hush hush.
Very interesting. Well, who knows? Maybe it's still something hidden in the game that we haven't found out about. Who knows?
I would say to you, unless it's taken out, there probably is something in there.
Okay. We'll see.
Very
We'll see.
cool. Got any more?
And yeah, that's pretty much it for my community questions.
All right, I got a couple here from the chat. Dark Sherlock Holmes wants to know, Jay, have you met any of the other voice actors or actresses in The Phantom Pain besides Stephanie Houston?
Kiefer.
Kiefer? Okay, very cool.
Do you talk to him at all?
Well, not really. I mean, with actors, it's really interesting. You get together with a group of people and you become like family because you work closely on a film or something. But it doesn't necessarily mean when it's over, you guys are going to hang out and
Gotcha.
it's just you're friends. If I see any of them,
Right.
we'll have a laugh about it. But it's kind of like it's just like
Acquaintances, basically.
it is. It's a very small community. You try to keep it friendly.
Gotcha. All right, well, I got a tough one for you. Tommy3010 wants to know, out of all the roles you've played in your career, what is your favorite character?
Wow. Well, obviously, like I said to you earlier, Vega would always be a special one because it was the first.
Hey,
And it was a fun role, and I was in my 20s, and it will always be something unique and special. But as far as sentimentality, I would say working with Ron Howard on The Missing, portraying a Cherokee Apache, and try to make that character three-dimensional. I felt like no one had ever seen an Indian on screen quite like that. He was a father, he was a hero, he was a warrior, he was funny, he was a complete character. He wasn't just the noble savage in leathers and feathers. And I've definitely enjoyed, like I say, I would say Code Talker is going to be one of the most different roles I've played.
Right,
so that one will be one I will always treasure as well.
Very cool. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for our community questions, Jay. You've been amazing. We've got a couple lines for you to say, and then we're going to head out and let you continue on for the rest of your day. Do you have the lines in front of you?
Oh, yeah, they're in the Google Doc that we sent you. They're at the very bottom. I know some of them are very wordy, so if you'd rather skip some of these, let us know. But Code Talker just says a lot of a lot of things. A lot of technical terms.
Okay.
Would you like me to send it to you via Skype?
Yeah, if you could pop it out. Oh, hang on. I got it here.
Okay,
I got
cool.
it here on my pad.
Okay, cool.
Right.
At the very bottom where it says quotes.
Okay, quotes. Okay. And you want me to say this in the voice of the
Code Talker, if you can, yes.
Quotes. Silence. Silence or death. Since ancient times, every civilization ruler has had the same idea. When people unite under one will, they become stronger than the sum of their parts. And what do rulers use to bring people together? Language. Eyes on Kazuhura. What else? You have more there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's underneath. You have to scroll down there a little bit.
Oh, there they are. Already then. Oh, I like this part. Hamburgers. A single dish providing a balanced helping of nature's blessings. Meat, grain, and vegetables. How could anyone hate such magnificent thing? Dine, Woblasia, Copulate, Alveoli. No, I can't even say these now.
I know. It's a challenge.
Vocal cord parasites, microbiosis, nuclear power. This is Code Talker, and you're watching Codec.
Very
Thank you
cool.
very much. That's awesome.
Oh man, Jay, you are amazing. Would you do one more for us? Would you do the
Sure.
last? Would you do the last line? Except do it. Give us a Vega. This is Vega, and you're watching the codec.
All right, here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
With the mask.
He's got the mask.
Listen up, people. This is Vega, and you're watching Codec.
Thank you so much, Jay. You are amazing,
The
man.
face.
I love it. You've been a great guest. What a great way to open up 2016, man. You've been a fabulous guest, and hopefully we'll see more from you here in the future. Before we let you go, can you tell everybody where they can keep up with you? Do you have a website, your Facebook,
Absolutely.
Twitter, those kind of
All
things?
the social network. You can find me at J Tavare on. I've got 2 pages on Facebook, the actor writer J Tavare and just J Tavare, and I'm on Instagram and Twitter too under my name. And if you want to follow my adventures with the Native community and my around the world, follow me on Huffington Post. Just type in my name on the search, and you see all my blogs. So those are the places you can find me.
Awesome.
See you all of you
Awesome.
around, and I want to thank both of you. You're incredible hosts, and
you.
I will be back on your show for sure.
Awesome.
Awesome.
We're looking
Awesome.
forward to that.
Hopefully with another kick-ass game.
Definitely, I
Indeed.
think so. Jay, enjoy the rest of your day, sir. And from our community and all of the fans, we thank you again. Have a good one, sir.
Yeah. See ya.
Gujudash. Good night.
Gujudash.
All right. Ciao.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Jay Tavare, the voice of Code Talker, and man, he's a character. I like him. He was a very funny guy, and I like how he had the Vega mask just right there.
Yeah, that's
ready,
awesome.
Ready to go.
Was
ready
not
to
expecting
go.
that.
Neither
But,
was I. I liked it. I thought.
Yeah, just a
I
very
thought-
fascinating interview. I love like talking about the different cultures and whatnot. It's very interesting to hear Jay Tavare
Right.
talking about his relationship to his culture and how that influences his acting. It's just a very fascinating guest and very healthy looking. I mean, good God, what's the secret?
Right.
Just good exercise, I guess.
Like you said, doing the MMA stuff, you look like you could kick anybody's ass,
Oh, seriously,
man.
no, you don't want to mess with Code Talker.
I tell you, and what I really liked about Jay is, like I said during the interview, I love voice actors and actors who pay attention to their characters. You know what I mean? Like it's really easy. I'm sure as somebody who does plays and things like that.
Yeah.
It's really easy to kind of forget about a role and just kind of be done with it when it's over. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but when somebody pays attention to that particular character, I find that really, really great. There's a lot of people who we've talked to who I don't remember, I don't know, that was just a job and I'm done with that one. And that, like I said, that's fine, but it's more interesting and way more engaging when we're able to talk to somebody like Jay about specifics of the character and he can remember and. Even though he's not a gamer, he still cares. I think that's what's awesome.
Like Jay Tavare, you said, he could have done, just 80%, whatever. Not like we would know the difference between some, some mispronounced Navajo dialect. We wouldn't know the difference, and yet he went in there and did it 100%, and, just that kind of dedication is awesome. And he clearly very much enjoyed the role, and he had a very memorable experience, and, just a very cool guy, and, very glad to have him on our show as the first voice actor of the year.
Exactly. I just noticed your shelf's growing back there, man. You got the picture looks like that Emilio sent you. I wanted to talk a little bit about the book.
The This one here? Yeah.
That one right there. I got that as well. I have it over here getting hung up. But for those of you who are watching, like I said, Emilio Lopez hooked us all up with this art book, and I got to thank you, Yong, for letting me know about it. I had no idea that he was doing something like this, and for him to hook the show up and give everybody their own custom little book with their own custom drawing. I had to go with the little guy. I saw you got the boss and the Sorrow.
And Sorrow. Bay. Those two are Bay.
Ronin got Cyborg Raiden.
Yeah.
And I had to go with the little guy, man. I had to go with
Genome Soldier.
I had to go with Mr. Genome Soldier from the level B2 basement.
Dude, he's a classic.
He definitely is. But this art book was amazing, and I really urge everybody to kind of, if you want to, help out the Metal Gear community. This guy right here is.
I was blown away when there's a video online at Emilio Lopez's channel, and I saw the video, and he goes through the whole art book, and I mean the stuff there is just mind blowing. Like it's so official looking, it's crazy.
Right.
And he'll do a custom drawing for you. Like Daly said, I chose the Sorrow and the boss together, and then Daly got the Genome Soldier and what have you. So he'll do a custom drawing with each art book that he sends you. So definitely it's really cool. You should definitely look into it.
Definitely. So with that, I don't want to do a long post show.
Sure.
Because I mean, I want to save some of the juicier stuff for when Ronin joins us next week or the week after. But I did want to kind of talk about the recent induction of Metal Gear Online for the PC. I'm not sure if you've heard the news, but I'd like to kind of get your opinions on how you think it's going. So right off the bat, the Metal Gear Online for PC came into beta, I believe, on the 13th. I think is when it officially launched. I'm not sure if you heard, but they had to take down the beta within the first few hours because there was a glitch in the game, and I tested this, and it did work. I feel a little bad about it because I didn't know it was going to work, but you could buy Mother Base coins unlimitedly for no money. Like, you would just hit checkout and authorize, and you would get all of the Mother Base coins that you ordered, but it wouldn't charge you a dime. So people bought a lot of Mother Base coins online. If you go into an online match now, everybody has like the cat hat and the Croc skin and all the stuff that would cost Mother Base coins.
I did not know about this.
Yeah,
should have been on board.
Right. It didn't go too well, I guess, on the launch, but the stability is back now. They put the server back up. They disabled Mother Base coins for now. I don't know exactly what they're going to do about anybody who bought Mother Base coins like this. Like for me, if they charged my card, I wouldn't be mad. I would have paid for them anyways, but I wanted to test the glitch to see if it was real or not.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. Yeah, that's what they all say.
I mean, what am I getting these Mother Base coins for? Because that's the second point is, are you still playing Metal Gear Online?
No, not recently, because I've been busy with Dragonborn Act 2. Mostly because of that. I would play it if I had the time. But I just haven't had time to play anything, really. Mostly portable games, because I can carry those with me. But console games and PC games, I've just had no time whatsoever. So, no. Have you?
Yeah, I've downloaded the beta because it's not physically out yet. Like, you have to opt into their beta program via your Steam list, and obviously it's been out for the console. I have not played it on the console, even though I have it. I mean, I've played it a couple times with a couple of the fans and things like that, but I don't play it on a regular basis. But I did play it on PC, and it's fairly stable. The thing that I wanted to ask you, and I asked this to Ronin last week, and he's not really a PC player. He's got it on PS4, just like you do. But the PC community just got the game, Metal Gear Online. They've had the base game. Do you think, in your opinion, is this quick enough? Do you think that a game can do this where it releases its single player component and then so long after release it, for the PC players, and think people are going to be interested? Do you feel like people will re-download this game or start this game back up just to play this multiplayer mode? Has it engaged you enough where if you didn't play it for a long time and it came out, would you go back and play?
the thing is, I haven't played a lot of Metal Gear Online. I've always been more of a single player kind of
Same.
guy, unless it's like I love Super Smash Brothers, for example, but that's like living room multiplayer,
Right.
and
Okay.
local multiplayer or whatever. So I've been more of that kind of gamer. I'm not much of an online gamer, so I haven't played tons of Metal Gear Online. I've played some of it.
Right.
And what I would say is that if people, for those who didn't like Metal Gear Solid 5 and they got it for PC and they just, they fell out of it, I don't think it's gonna motivate them to boot it back up. But if they enjoyed the game, the single player component,
Right.
I think I'm sure they'll be curious. I mean, and something to keep in mind is that PC has keyboard and mouse controls, and
Yeah.
how will that differ versus PS4, which is analog sticks? And that's something that I'm personally curious about, so I'm definitely going to try it out. So
Right.
I think, maybe the keyboard and mouse component will, make online better because it's more
Yeah.
accurate aiming. Stuff like that. Who knows? But it depends
I-
on how much you enjoyed the single player, honestly. And
Yeah.
if you were interested in the single player, then I'm sure you'll be curious about the multiplayer. And so, but I don't know. From what I've heard, Metal Gear Online isn't like a mind-blowing multiplayer experience, but it's a
Yeah.
fun diversion. So,
Yeah, I think you're right. I played the single player with a controller. It was much more forgiving than something as fast paced as an online. But I switched over to the keyboard and mouse controls, like you said, much more precise movement and aiming. The only bad thing is with the analog stick, you get that real precision of when you want to walk, when you want to run.
That's true.
Here,
you gotta hold down a button.
Yeah, you have two. There's two options. There's slow mode or fast mode. There's no like middle ground, and that kind of messes up some of the CQC action. You see a lot of times players can't get right where they need to be because of you can go up, down, left, and right, and you have to use that mouse to get that third degree of each angle or whatever. And that's been causing some of the issues that I've seen. I watched somebody go around in circles for like 2 or 3 minutes in a match the other day because they were doing the cloak and dagger one, and they were. And that's another issue I've found with the game is that there's 3 game modes. I'm sure you've seen them if you've played. They've got the cloak and dagger, which is one team's got like nothing but tranquilizer type weapons, like non-lethal, and then the other team gets lethal.
Yeah.
That game mode is, I don't want to say unbalanced, but it's a little unfair at times. If one of your teammates gets spotted, everybody's spotted. There's no way to like divide yourself into like groups or teams. So if you've got one guy who sucks at the game, like it ruins it for the rest of you guys trying to sneak through and steal the data disk. And then likewise, just having 3 game modes limits like the replayability and the fun. You've got extraction, which is just
Right,
team
it's only
death.
3 game modes. That's a big problem.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of the issue is with these 3 game modes. It divides the map up depending on the game mode, so the spawn points are always different. And there's a lot of issues that they have to work out. I am confident, though, with what I've seen. We give Konami a lot of crap because of some of the shady stuff that they've done recently.
Yeah.
But the people who are working on this particular part of the game in Metal Gear in general, we've got lots of updates. There's been updates for both PC, PS4, and Xbox One. You've got new content with new weapons that are free of charge, things like that. You've got some cheap DLC for costumes.
Yeah.
Some of the transgressions are even a little forgivable, like mother base insurance. Yeah, we gave it some crap, but you don't really need to buy that. It's not like something that's forcing your game. So I am kind of optimistic, and maybe they'll add some more game modes. I heard there was some kind of horde mode or something coming in called survival.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that. Yeah.
So maybe that will kind of spice things up. I like a co-op type of experience personally. I love multiplayer games that are co-op orientated. So
Sure.
if they have something like that, I'll definitely play that. I played a game that I personally don't really like to play multiplayer is Halo. I love the story, as I've told you guys before, but I don't really like the multiplayer component. But I played the Horde mode of that. I like the Mass Effect Horde mode. Those are my kind of multiplayer games. So,
dude, that made me think: how awesome would it be if they added a co-op component for the single player, where you have 2
That
people
would
in
be
the open
so
world,
cool.
and you can like do combinations and
that would be
That'd
your
be awesome.
buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Hopefully they'll have some updates and stuff for this game and whatnot. The last thing I wanted to ask you before we get out of here, I asked this to Ronan as well. We ended last year talking about our top games of 2015. Unfortunately, we lost that content due to some errors here on Hitbox. But what I thought would be cool is if we started out this year talking about a couple of the games, maybe 2 or 3 of games that you're looking forward to that are upcoming. Ronan's looking forward to one of the new Final Fantasies, Star Fox, and some other game that I literally just forgot. I'm looking forward to The Division, which launches very soon. I don't know if you've seen much on that. That looks like a really cool kind of co-op game.
I've seen it.
I said, one of my favorites. Ghost Recon Wildlands and the new Psychonauts, hopefully, and maybe Mass Effect. Hopefully, we'll get some new info on the Mass Effect, which reportedly there's supposed to be a. I don't know if it's going to be a gameplay demo, but there's supposed to be more stuff coming out this E3 about Mass Effect Andromeda, which is real. I didn't know that was a real galaxy. I'm kind of I don't really do a lot of space sciencey kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
But I like it. I love space science. I love all this. But I didn't know there was a galaxy named Andromeda. So I think that's really cool that they're kind of bridging that gap. But what are some games that you're looking forward to this year?
Oh, my God. Jeez. Zelda Wii U, first of all.
Right.
The new Zelda game. Or I don't know if it's going to be released on the NX or whatever. But whatever the new Zelda game is.
The open world one?
The open world one. Yeah, the semi-cell shaded. I don't know. It looks really cool. We got all the visual novel kind of games. Danganronpa 3, Ace Attorney 6, and what's the other one? Zero Escape 3. Dude, you guys need to play those games. The stories are insane. I love those kinds of games. Uncharted 4, definitely.
That was one of Ronan's. Was
Uncharted 4.
Yeah, but he said he's on the fence. He doesn't like. He knows it's going to be another Uncharted game, but he doesn't know if that's going to be like its downfall. Like, is it just going to be another Uncharted game, or is it going to be an Uncharted game that kind of brings that snazz of Uncharted, but is still different enough to be fun?
Sure. I know what you mean. Yeah, Uncharted. It's always like, it's Uncharted. But I don't know. The visuals look amazing.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, they keep delaying the game, which tells me that they're refining more and more. And they're not gonna. Hopefully, they're not gonna release a half-assed product. I don't think so. Naughty Dog has had a good track record of just awesome freaking games, and I'm very confident for Uncharted 4. And those are the ones that I can think of. I don't know if Persona 5 is that coming out this year.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, Persona 5 if it's coming out this year. Final Fantasy 15 if it's coming out this year. Kingdom Hearts 3. If it's coming out this year.
Yeah, I don't know about Kingdom Hearts 3. I think we would have heard a little more if it was going to be out this year. I'm hopeful for Final Fantasy for you guys.
15, yeah.
There's a few other good games slated that we know about, but hopefully, as these games come out, we'll be able to adjust the Codec schedule to bring in some voice actors from them and have a good old time. So that's going to wrap up the show today. Thank you guys so much for watching. There's links in the descriptions to our channels and our sponsors. Please check those out if you have time. You can check out Yong Ya's channel for some updates. I know Yong's getting ready to release this Dragonborn Act 2 that everybody's patiently been waiting for.
I've been yelling all day today, yelling the shouts. I'm adding all the shouts in the placeholders, and holy shit, those are tough. They're harder than they look.
I bet, especially from you're having a break from between 1 and 2, getting them all back down and whatnot. So I think everybody's excited to finally see where this is going. And then you have one more act, right?
Yeah, and Act 3, and that'll be the end of it for the Skyrim main quest. I mean, some people are asking that I do Dawnguard and Dragonborn, the Dragonborn DLC, but I don't know if I'll do those because these take a lot of time and commitment. But I most certainly will do Act 3. But we'll see what happens. And I mean, there's Fallout 4. Some people are asking if I'm going to do a machinimation on that. I have to experiment with the game systems and see if that's possible, but
maybe do it episodically.
Maybe. Yeah, like 10, 20 minutes episodes. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
but I definitely love doing machinimation or just anything filmmaking, really. So I think you'll see more from me in that regard, but
You could do the what's it? Is it the hearth? A house.
the home life of Dovahkiin.
Yeah, I mean, you can
Like
all the different events that happen,
like a Full House, but Skyrim version. Yeah, Hearthfire. There we go.
That would be great. I love it. Yeah, so we have that to look forward to. You've been releasing like little tidbits
Teasers.
what I'm talking about is you've been doing little small Metal Gear stuff in
Yeah.
between, which has been really cool. So when you finish Dragonborn, what are we looking at? You got more Metal Gear stuff for us. I know you want to do the lore stuff. In addition to that, are we looking at any other kind of analysis, anything from the game that you maybe are breaking down?
Yeah, I mean, there's always something to analyze. So I mean, there's just so many topics that you can talk about with Metal Gear. So there's always going to be some kind of analysis that you'll see from me.
Okay.
Yeah, the lore video is going to be my next big project after Dragonborn Act 2. That's literally what my next big project is going to be. That's what I'm going to focus on. And that's probably going to take maybe a couple months because it's going to be a full-length, like, documentary kind of thing.
Right.
Like a whole 2 hours maybe, talking about the whole, maybe more, because I don't know how long it honestly takes to sum up the whole Metal Gear lore. But I want to make one comprehensive video where you can watch and get everything there is to know about Metal Gear. And then I also want to do character profiles where I tell the whole life story of every character of what we know so far. And I'm going to start from least important to most important characters. So we'll probably see some character like Cecile, the first character, the first character profile, because honestly, she's pretty irrelevant. And build up to, whatever, Big Boss or Zero or whoever is really important.
I thought you were going to start with the medic if we were talking about irrelevant characters.
Damn.
I'm kidding.
Venom just got wrecked.
I'm kidding. I think that's very cool. I'm actually I mentioned this to Ronan, and I wanted to mention it to you. I had never seen 24, like ever, not even one episode. Well, until I got an Amazon Prime membership,
cool,
like a month ago. I'm on season 8 now.
Damn, really?
I've got my work on this monitor right here, and then I've got 24 on this monitor, and I'm working and watching 24 simultaneously for the last 3 weeks.
What do you think?
I love it. It's great. I cannot stop watching it. I literally cannot. But what I did notice is I think Kojima watched 24 before making the Phantom Pain, because there are lines that are I won't scatter your heartless, to the sea. I won't
scatter your sorrow to the heartless sea.
I will always be with you. Those lines are in 24.
I won't scatter your sorrows to the heartless sea.
Not that particular line word for word, but he says something like, I won't your sorrow. I will always be with you. He's talking to his daughter.
Okay.
Like in season 1 or 2. When like he's getting ready to like disappear or whatever, and he says those lines, and then like you hear like just little short lines like copy, like those lines are the same. Like the delivery is awesome. I've been loving it. It's a really good show. And like I said, I think Kojima watched a little bit of 24 because you can see a lot of those references in Metal Gear if you go back and really look at it and break down like some of the dialogue. And when you're watching the show, you'll hear a line and be like, that sounds like Snake. Like,
of course there is. Damn it!
Yeah.
When he says in Ground Zeroes, he gives a full Jack Bauer damn it. When they find the bomb inside Paz, Snake goes, damn it! And I'm like, that's literally right. Jack Bauer.
I loved it, man. I just I thought it was really funny, some of the kind of throwbacks and ties that they had to 24 while still keeping it Metal Gear. I think that was pretty funny. But yeah, I've been watching that. I wanted to let you guys know that I'm fully on board now, like with the Jack Bauer train. I know all about it. So
there's a new season coming out, but without Kiefer Sutherland.
I just announced that on the Codec's Twitter right before we started. I said, so they're redoing or relaunching 24 without Kiefer Sutherland, and I put ... the decisions that these companies make. Konami replaces David Hayter with Kiefer Sutherland. Fox replaces Kiefer Sutherland with some dude I don't even know.
Yeah.
His name's,
Now, unlike David Hayter, Kiefer knew, like, it wasn't something that was suddenly
Yeah.
sprung on him. It was like, because he's a big part of 24, and he actually makes
Yeah.
a lot of decisions with, like, the executive producers, like Howard Gordon, or whatever. So this was actually something that he hinted at way beforehand. So he knew about this, whereas David Hayter, it just kind of happened for him. So,
I still don't understand. Like, you
yeah.
just call it something else.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. That's all I can say. As much flack as I've given Kiefer for the Metal Gear thing. Like I said, it's not really his fault. I did have some issues with his performance, and I wish that they would have kept David Hayter. But I don't dislike Kiefer Sutherland. I feel like he's the main guy in 24. He's got to be in there somewhere. Like I said, it's not. I don't like him. I just didn't like that particular move in that franchise. Same thing where I will back up Kiefer Sutherland here.
Sure.
I would like to see him in 24.
Yeah.
Even if he's not the main character, I would have liked to see him be in charge of CTU. I love that first couple episodes of the first season where he's the director. Like, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I'm sure he'll make a cameo, though. That's for sure. I have no doubt in my mind that we will see Kiefer make some kind of cameo, or just be in a few episodes helping the guys out, and then maybe back out in the new series. But well, no, I mean, I don't want to judge it. We haven't seen who the new 24 Jack, who the new Jack is, basically. So who knows? Maybe it'll be good. But
maybe you never know.
I have reservations because Kiefer's freaking awesome as Jack Bauer, and why would you want to see anybody else in 24? But we'll see. Who knows?
Yeah, I think you're right on the page there. The only thing that bothered me about the show is, like, there's a lot of security breaches in these big government places.
The word mole is like, take a shot every time they use the word mole, and you'll be dead in an hour.
You should take a shot every time a random CTU security guard dies, and you will go into a coma.
Yeah.
Like, you will big boss yourself. So, again, that's it. We're into the show for real now. I just wanted to get that out there.
Great news.
Right.
Good way to end the show.
I bet. So make sure you guys join us next week. We may have a guest, again, kind of like today. I'm setting things up with these guests, and sometimes, like Jay was like, hey, let's do it. This Friday. I talked to him Wednesday. He's like, let's do it Friday. So hopefully we'll have one for you next week. If not, I do have a fun news show planned for you. That's it from me. Young, good to have you back, buddy. It's good to have you on for your first show and interview Jay Tavare. So time to say goodbye, buddy.
Well, thank you for tuning in, folks. Welcome to 2016. Season 2 is going to be awesome. Lots of interviews, lots of stuff to talk about, I'm sure. There's always something to talk about. And look forward to Dragonborn Act 2, which comes out in just a couple days, honestly.
Yep.
Friday. And I'm, shitting my pants trying to make sure everything's perfect. All the sound effects. There's a lot of sound effects that I need to add, but the movie's pretty much complete. But
awesome.
I wanted to, the sound effects are important for giving the movie that oomph. And I just hope to get everything together and upload it on time, which I think I will. Metal Gear stuff coming after Dragonborn Act 2, news updates and all that, after Dragonborn Act 2 is just right now. That's all I'm focused on. But, stay tuned. Lots of great content coming. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time. Yong out!
All right, guys, have a good one.